Welcome to this video on Dana White's official announcement last night that Jon Jones is retired fully. Obviously, he's been saying online that he was retired or not going to fight Tom Aspinall, but now has come from the UFC, and in fact Dana White in an interview after Roundtree versus Hill UFC fight night saying Jon Jones has officially retired. Tom Aspinall is now made the official heavyweight champion of the world from being interim heavyweight champion and actually defending that title. And I just want to go through, what does this mean? What does it mean in the saga of the heavyweight division that's currently happened recently? What sort of decisions they've got to make at the UFC, and really where it leaves everyone. So, look, first things first, leaves the UFC in a very tough position. They've been looking at, the deal's been done, been saying that for a good while, that they'll get it done, they'll make sure it happens. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is next. So obviously some conversation with Jon Jones in the background saying he would probably fight Tom Aspinall, if not literally signing that he would. In the background, agreeing negotiations, things like that, leading UFC on a merry chase onto trying to get this fight done, and then leaving them whenever he wanted to, which is a big thing. I think the UFC, no matter what, especially Dana White, giving the plaudits to Jon Jones so much over recent times, especially when this Tom Aspinall fight has been ongoing negotiation, thing like that. Jon Jones has received a lot of plaudits from Dana White. But what do I think that now? Do I think Dana White likes Jon Jones, or will openly go, yeah, Jon Jones is a great fighter? I think he probably will, historically. Will I think he'll do business with him again? No. I think, once burnt, second time, I'm not looking to try and look, they've spent a lot of money. A lot of people, people's time at the UFC, trying to do negotiations, trying to get things done, trying to get fights sorted. Spent a hell of a lot of time in interviews, spending a hell of a lot of time saying Jon Jones is doing this, doing that, and it doesn't come off, which is the bit where the UFC will be very annoyed. They've spent a hell of a lot of money, hell of a lot of time on something that would be a massive super fight, and probably spent the time and money to try and look into things and where they could do it, etc., for it to just be left to them by one of the fighters, who've literally, sounds like, in at least interviews from Dana White, they've agreed to fight. And I don't think Dana would have said that several times, not just once, multiple times in interviews. The fight has been signed and agreed, and they'll be coming back with fight dates soon rather than later. To now come out he's retired, scary. I think that is a terrible thing for the UFC. The UFC were very annoyed. I think Jon Jones is fully done. He won't be coming back because it's been UFC fighters who've retired and then come back. Do I think that will happen with Jon Jones? No. I think they go, look, we can't offer you the money because we cannot trust you'll do it. We can do this whole press thing, we can start setting up fights and spend all that money to do so, and you just turned us down the last minute after you basically agreed with us that you would fight. So look, UFC's been badly burnt there. I think they're out of the Jon Jones business now. I think he has fully retired. I don't think he'd even tried to come back, but even if he did, I think the UFC would go, look, we're not interested. Tom Aspinall obviously caused him a bit of a problem. He's been out for so long waiting for the Jon Jones fight. Now, no Jon Jones fight happening. Got to look for who else in the heavyweight division to fight. And who is there really? Look, it's going to be gone. That's for sure. And the UFC is going to try and make that fight ASAP for Tom Aspinall to get him back. Heavyweight is one of the best selling divisions in the UFC. And so, of course, they'll try and make that fight. But look, what's the future of the heavyweight division? Tom Aspinall's, I think, way over and above most of the people in the heavyweight division, that, well, definitely against the top 15, is way over and above anyone in the top 15. So who do I think he fights? I mean, it's difficult. You know, you got Garn, who he hasn't fought, fair enough. Volkov beat, Pavlovich beat, you know, that's 3 and 4. Well, with Jon Jones coming out, obviously Tom is champion. Cyril Garn's next, so that's the only person I can think he fights. Volkov, Pavlovich are after that. Curtis Blades, all been beaten by Tom Aspinall. Then you're going down to 5th, 6th. You know, out of the top 5, you know, bottom top 5 or top 10, and some of these guys, a good few of these guys, he's beaten. You know, so, and then if you you can't be looking beyond the top 10 for Tom Aspinall. You're talking about Gaziev, Teixeira, which could, number 14. You know, a few more fights. You know, look, that could be a. He's number, well, after Jon Jones retires, probably 13. He's currently 14, so he'd be 13, so he moves up 1. He's got a lot of fights to go. He's got a lot of fights to win in. And really, do I think he has a chance against Tom Aspinall? No. I think Tom Aspinall beats him, but, you know, he's got 3, 4, maybe even 5 fights to get up there. And he's going to have to fight he's going to have to fight a Pavlovich. He's going to have to fight a Volkov, Garn. One of them 3, if not 2 of them 3, which, tough fights for him. And Tom Aspinall's got through this far easily. Pavlovich knockout, you know, Blades beaten quite easily. Second fight, first fight obviously got that injury, and Volkov beaten. So Garn's the only one he can fight. I think that's what they make, and it's the easy fight to make for them. 2 fighters in the division, they can offer Garn a lot of money to take it. Tom Aspinall, they need to give something. The next thing is, what do they do for the future of the heavyweight division? As saying that, you've already got Teixeira, who number 13 by the time Jon Jones gets removed from the rankings. But he's got a lot of fights to come up, and you know, we're talking about prospects really. They've got a lot of fights to win and do very well in to start making people think you could beat Tom Aspinall or giving him a challenge or something like that. So they've got a real problem. They've got a real problem on their hands to try and get a fight done after this. That excites people. You can't be giving Tom Aspinall, a heavyweight division champion, nobody's. You know, he's going to earn a lot of money because he's that good. But in giving him a lot of money, which you'll have to do, he needs to make money. Yeah, it has to be an exciting fight. It has to be something that people want to watch. Otherwise, you know, look, you're making fights to not really get anything out of it. And it's a business. It's a money-making business, the UFC. And they're not going to do that forever. So Garn, they may take a bit of a hit on and maybe not, because people want to see Tom Aspinall back and they're interested in seeing it. But I think, look, their money-making business, no matter how badly they get hurt or the negotiations sour or what words get traded online or in interviews. And I think people see where I'm going here. Ngannou is the fight to make. It's a fight that will make a lot of money. He wants the chance. You know, there's nothing in PFL for him. There doesn't seem to be a boxing fight coming up for him. What is next for Ngannou? And pretty much his trainer or someone in his camp's come out saying like he would like, you know, he's trying to get a fight, he's trying to find fights. Nothing in the PFL for him. You know, they've got as bad of a problem with Ngannou as the UFC got with Tom Aspinall. There's no one to fight. What actually sells? What can actually sell with these top tier heavyweights when everyone's such a level below them? Well, you got to make a choice. You've got to make a deal and get that fight done, and I think the UFC has to do it. And I think that could maybe a one-fight deal for Ngannou, but it gets the UFC out of a spot, and it gives them time to allow heavyweight prospects to make their name and gain in that division, to really come up and really find their get their name out there to the fans, to beat the names in that division as well. And to really get the fans questioning, can he do it? Can he do it against Tom Aspinall? Is there a chance? which is the key thing. So I think they put in a Garn fight, and then they start, hopefully, and I think this is it. You can be badly burnt in how sour that relationship is, but I think time is a great healer, and especially with a money-making business, when you've got a money problem in a heavyweight division, and you try and compete with boxing, who are putting on these massive fights. Hey, look, for a fighter especially, money helps, and for the UFC especially, money helps. You can't have Tom Aspinall sat out on the sidelines. He won't have it. You've got to find him fights. And do you want to make money-making fights, or do you want to make fights where you're paying Tom Aspinall more than you're making on the gate? Well, clearly, I think the clear answer is they've got to start. And they've got time. They've got a Garn fight, and then they can go forward. But start making them negotiations now with Ngannou. He's looking outside the PFL from reports. So, look, perfect timing. Two people who, sort of enemies after Ngannou left the UFC. Time's a good healer, and also perfect timing. There's a new enemy of going, we're not making any money, both of us. Let's make some money together again, and try and repair it in some way. And look, the UFC will do it if they fully support Tom Aspinall and hope he wins, and then suddenly Tom Aspinall's name gets so much bigger in the sport. Next position, which is I think less likely than the Ngannou fight, but it's Alex Pereira. I think him coming up to heavyweight. I think that was always an interest for Jon Jones, for Pereira to come up. Pereira's a big guy anyway. But him losing against Ankalaev didn't help. I think that fight has less of a spark now. And Tom Aspinall hasn't ever fought at light heavyweight. Jon Jones, you always had that thing of going, well, he was a light heavyweight champion. Jon Jones, he has gone up, but he is that light heavyweight style. He has just bulked up to get to heavyweight. And look, Pereira is at least the same size, if not bigger than Jon Jones. So, you felt that actually, size-wise, that sort of works. Does a Tom Aspinall Alex Pereira? I don't think so. I think Tom is a lot bigger, and there is a key thing. If you lose against Ankalaev, you're losing against Tom Aspinall at heavyweight. You're going up that far in weight, giving the weight, really the weight advantage or the weight class advantage to Tom Aspinall. He's going to get you on the ground and beat you quite easily. So it might be a fight that happens, but tough one really. I think to make. I think Alex Pereira is going to want to get the light heavyweight championship back, which will be tough. And then how long has he got left after that? I think a Tom Aspinall fight. Look, you're going to have to offer a lot of money, but for people, is it really that much of a interest? Do people go, can he do it? Yes, they sort of do, and they understand it would sell. But I don't think it fully makes sense for every participant, especially Pereira. He goes, why would I have lost once? I want to get the title back. And actually, I've it's that part of going, well, how far can I try and hit the heavyweight mark? He's the older guy. Is he really going to be able to adapt to that weight now? Look, it's difficult. I think you've got to go, well, I don't know. But I mean, that is the backup, I would say, for the UFC. They haven't really got anyone else who could really hang with Tom in there. I think Pereira, big name as well, would sell tickets. So that's what I think. I think they've got to really go for the Garn fight as the first option, the first fight for Tom Aspinall coming back after this Jon Jones saga, and then I think they've got to make the Ngannou fight, and failing that, it's the Pereira fight. And Pereira is really question mark on going, well, if he loses against Ankalaev again, trying to get the title back, does he get a fight with Tom Aspinall? Do people really want it? Does it sell? I don't think so. I think if you lose against Ankalaev, then the feeling around that will mean the Tom Aspinall fight doesn't happen. But look, Jon Jones left the UFC in a bit of a problem situation that the fans could see from afar, coming quite like a train towards the UFC, and Dana White saying that, oh, Jon Jones is the best, and of course the fight's made. We're gonna let you know dates and all this, and look, we're working on it. The guys are in some way signed. Yeah, we're getting it done. Just egg on their face really is the key. And look, that's the problem with Jon Jones. He clearly didn't want to fight. He may be saying something in the background going, yeah, I want this, want that, and then you agree. But it was clear from the offset he didn't want to fight Tom Aspinall. And for someone like that to say, I don't really want to fight, I don't want to fight Tom Aspinall, look, you either fight or do, sign dotted line and go. We've met your money demands and everything you could ever ask for. So we're going to announce this, or you're stripped of the title. And the fact it's stripping him of the title and saying he's retired is incredible. To be a fly on the wall at the UFC when this sort of came through to them would be interesting. But look, the UFC's in a right pickle now with this heavyweight division. I think they can get out of it quite well. I think they've got some things in which have all sort of come together in the right time for them. With Garn being there, ready for probably ready for a fight. Tom Aspinall ready for a fight. So clearly make that fight straight away, get that signed, and if you have to pay a bit extra, get it done. And then look, and Nganou's looking for outside the PFL opportunities. So repair some damage. Have a nice little chat and see what happens, because that is the fight to make for every UFC fan, and would sell an incredible amount, and I think is as big of a super fight as Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.